Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the newly renamed the Devil's Advocate podcast. This is our preview show. I'm going to introduce Marc. I'm going to introduce Hammer, and we've got Marcus join us as well at some point. But before we get started, I'd just like to remind everybody to check on people that you love, check on people that you haven't seen. Just talk to people and make sure they're okay. People always appear on the outside as to be strong, capable, but you never know what's going on inside their heads, whether they're happy or they're unhappy. Mental health is hugely important to us all. And I just want you to make sure you check on people regularly, drop them a text, drop them a quick call, make sure they're okay. Everybody lives happily ever after. Anyway, let's introduce my gang tonight. So we got to my left, or to my right, as you're looking, depending on how you see it, is Sir Marc Biggs. Marc, how are you, old friend? How's it been?
I'm good, man. It's going to take a little while trying to get used to everything right and left and all that sort of inverted crap. But I tell you what, I was saying to the boys backstage, I'm really fucking excited for the new season. It's been a long time coming. It's nice to get back on with you guys and have a really good chat. Obviously, good to see familiar faces in the comments as well. And we've got lots to talk about tonight. Let's go.
I know, and Hammer. How you doing, old friend, stateside?
Yeah, man, I'm doing pretty good, trying to do some new things in life and, figuring some shit out. But, hey, it's going pretty good, man.
Good, man. You're looking relaxed, which is good to see. We'll catch up with Hammer a bit later because Hammer was lucky enough to, as he lives out in the States, was watch a friendly match. So we'll get Hammer's take on that. I know he was delighted to, evening, John. He was delighted, evening, help. He was delighted to watch that. So look, first things first, before we kind of get into the crux of the show, which is what we can expect from Wolves and what we can expect from Manchester United. What you've been doing on the off season, then, fellas? You've been watching any of the friendlies? Have you switched off from football? Have you been living football still? What have you been doing?
I feel like I've been catching up more recently, to be honest with you. I think with the off-season, we did so many shows last season. It was nice to have that little bit of break. Obviously, part of the group chats and all that kind of thing, trying to get involved. But I feel like it's just been a well-deserved break. And of course, I did watch some of the pre-season games. I don't really take a lot of notice of it. And obviously, it's good to actually have the competitive league back. But I feel like I've been more sort of engrossed in the whole Caicedo situation and whether he's going to be going to Chelsea or Liverpool, and hopefully, I mean, I don't want him to go to either, but hopefully it's Chelsea over those bastards. But yeah, man, all good.
Good man. Hammer?
Yeah, I mean, I've been keeping up with some of the preseason ones that I could catch, but I sometimes I do turn off a little bit once it gets into the off season, just because some of my other sports and over here in the States are going on as well. But the Yankees have been flopping, so I've been getting back into this a little bit earlier than usual.
Great stuff. Well, for myself, I've come out of retirement, so if any of you are interested, you can check out Tips and Towns Vets over 50s, which I think our season starts in a week or two's time. So that's my news, bit of family time. You know what it's like. So we're enjoying it. Okay, so look, the Premier League kicks off tonight. We've got City against Burnley. I think that'll be an interesting match. I think what Company's done with Burnley will be cause for concern for old Pep Guardiola. I'll be interested to see, and I don't want to talk about the game, by the way, but I just want to point out, I'll be interested to see what City do in terms of their recruitment moving forward. So even Jarvis has joined the chat, which is great. So Monday, 8 o'clock. What are we expecting first and foremost? Now, I know a little bit about Gary O'Neill, but I don't know a huge amount about Gary O'Neill. We know a little bit about Wolves, but we don't know a huge amount about Wolves. He's had 3 or 4 days to maybe come in and try something against us on Monday. So let's start with Wolves first and foremost. Marc, I'll start with you, pal. What are you expecting from Wolves, and what do you think we can do to counter Wolves before we go into what I think we'll do?
Yeah, I think it's always a bizarre one because obviously they've just got a new manager bounce. We seem to have had that so many times over the last few seasons, something we always seem to talk about, and I do think it kind of plays into the hands a little bit. However, I think that from a United perspective, I think Ten Hag would like to see us really start on the front foot. I think that we saw a lot of that throughout pre-season. We can see a lot more from what Onana would give us as well. And I feel that, we need to really start as we mean to go on. We were very fortunate last season. In the end, really, we had 2 poor performances and we had some really bad defeats as well. But I really feel like we've got to start as we mean to go on. The signings I've been really impressed with. I think a lot of that testament has to go out to Matt Hargreaves and John Murto. I think in the 2 windows that they've been a part of this sort of new recruitment from top down, I think it has been much better. We've been far more decisive. We haven't had so many leaks per se, not as much as Chelsea are getting. And I feel like that sort of really sort of emphasises a lot of how they approach things now. And I don't think it's always the best. But anyway, back to Wolves. I feel like they play obviously a very low block. I think it's very difficult. Even if we watch them in pre-season, now with the new manager, it's very difficult to know how they're going to set up. But I don't believe that they will be a possession-based team against us. And I think that is going to be a lot of the majority that we have. And it's about flooding that midfield and trying to utilise the width as much as we possibly can. As I said, new manager bounce could be a tough one. But ultimately, I do believe we should be absolutely killing this one off. Wolves are a strange one for me because they had new owners a few seasons ago. They had all this money being injected. They had a lot of Portuguese amazing talent that came through. And that's kind of sort of petered off a little bit. And it's a very strange one. But I am confident. I am extremely excited. I'm gutted I can't be at Old Trafford on Monday, but we will be doing a reaction. And I really feel like this is one we should be getting at least a few goals and hopefully a clean sheet, in my opinion.
Yeah, lovely. Hammer, just before I bring you in, pal, he's here. Oh my life, he's here.
Is that Marcus?
Where's
it, bro?
Marcus.
I decided to cut it off. It's good to see you guys after such a long time, man.
Good to
Great
see
to have you
guys,
back, bro.
Good to see you guys too. I'll come to you in a sec, Marcus. Hammer's just going to give me his thoughts on the upcoming game.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of going on some what Marc was saying. I think they are going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. And again, with the new manager and all that, there's always the frustrating part of not knowing what to expect. But I think it comes down to us just, and it comes back to the whole striker thing. And we signed one and he's got a little bit of a knock and all that. We do have to be clinical. I think, we would be able to break them down when we were playing well in the preseason, if we can get into that flow, we'll be able to break them down. We just got to put it in the back of the net for the opportunities that we get.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Marcus, welcome.
It's really good to be back, man.
Mate, you're looking tidy, as they say. Tidy in the UK. Look at that. He's sophisticated. That's the way to describe it. Mate, great to have you back. Great to have Hammer back. Great to have Marc back. We're all buzzing, as you can see, Marcus. I just asked the question just before you was coming in. What can we expect from Wolves on Monday? It's a difficult thing to dissect, I guess, because none of us know too much about Gary Neal and how he plays. And Hell has asked a great question. Do we actually know what Wolves are likely to put out in field in terms of their starting 11? And I don't think we know the answer to both of those. I've got an idea of how I think we'll play, which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, fire away, pal, fire away.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because what's been happening at Wolves is very strange. With their manager recently leaving, well, their previous manager, I should say, recently leaving. They were just an odd club to judge. And the weird thing about Wolves is it's always one of my least favorite games as a United fan because I feel like it's always going to be so boring. That they're going to be difficult to break down. That they're going to be very rigid. I wonder if that will be the case now that they've got a new manager because, as you say, not many of us know too much about him. Just looking at some of their preseason results, they seem to have done a decent job just in terms of the results. Obviously, I haven't watched any of their preseason games. So it's really hard to judge. All I can say is that from our point of view, I would expect that with some of the signings we've made, we'll be able to break them down and at least get a result,
No, look, I totally agree. I mean, Jarvis has made a great point. We have struggled against Wolves in the past.
Yeah.
Bits and pieces I know about Gary O'Neill are that he's not a traditional manager in the sense of he has a traditional system that he plays. He doesn't play a specific system. I've seen him turn out in a 4-4-2. I've seen him turn out in a 4-3-3. I've seen him turn out in some ridiculous format of 4-1-2, whatever. He's just a very, very strange way of playing. I don't think they'll attack us down the width too much because I don't think they've got the real wide players to do it. I don't really see them being strength up top, with Jimenez going. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to. I mean, I'm going to go with a 4-3-3. I think we'll set up our traditional 4-2-3-1. Okay, that's what I think we'll do. But I'm going to go with a 4-3-3 for Wolves. The problem that I see is that, and this has been our problem in the past with the 4-2-3-1 system. If you've noticed that Anthony and Rashford, because it's such a labour-intensive and a speed-intensive system, and what I mean by that, everybody, is that the reliance on Rashford and the reliance on Anthony, people don't get, and it's absolutely massively important to help in the middle if you're overthrown by 4-3-3. Because Bruno, although he will come back in, he doesn't sit in there where we need it to, and that's why we've often had issues with Dalot and issues with Malacia, not particularly so much Wan-Bissaka and so much Shaw, because they're very good defensively, but in particular with Malacia and with Dalot, we've had problems with them being caught out of possession. If you remember last year on position, and players were getting in behind, attackers are getting in behind us. So that's my only issue with our 4-2-3-1 system. I think it's got to have the right balance. And I think Gary O'Neill will look at that if he's had a chance and try and do something about it. Now, does he pack the midfield? Probably not. Does he pack the defence? Yes. But I don't know now because I can't really look at the personnel and see and try and pick a Wolves 11. The only one that I can see that's got any real defensive nous at the moment is Max Kilman. I presume they'll start with Sarr in goal and Kilman in there. I don't know, is Saiz still with the club or did he move on in the summer?
I think he moved on in the summer. I can't see. So they've got obviously Nelson Semedo, more of an attacking fullback. They have got Matt Doherty back now. He's back.
They've got Doherty back, have they?
Yeah, so he came back from Atletico in the summer. I'm not sure if it's a loan or what, but yeah, it's been very quiet, hasn't it, for Wolves? And I feel like if you ask a number of people, you wouldn't really be able to name a lot of their squad, if I'm honest. It's just a strange one. But I think Pedro Neto, obviously Fabio Silva. They've got some dangerous players, and obviously Matias Cunha as well.
That Norway scored a bit of a worldie, didn't he, in pre-season? And I think he peeled away as if it was a common occurrence. But I think that's only on FIFA, not in real life. He's okay, but I don't know. I think John's made a point, and John's actually echoed the point I was making. They'll play more of a counter-attacking game against us, but they'll be very cute on the way they do it. If I'm Gary O'Neill, I'm trying to wear out Rashford and Anthony. So I'm going to do as much ball play at the back as I possibly can, and I'm going to try and make Anthony and Rashford run. And the reason I'm going to do that is because later on in the game, I'm looking for tiredness, and that's what I'm going to exploit. So if Wolves can stay in the game for 45, maybe 60 minutes, this is where we have problems. This is where we really have our issues. So that's what I'm doing if I'm Gary O'Neill. I'll open it out to the panel. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, looking at this Wolves 11, I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of new faces I don't recognize, but there's a few like Neto, Nunes, Dawson, Semedo that look pretty familiar. It looks like the way Wolves set up in their last game, just on paper, is a 4-3-3, but who knows what they're going to play against us.
Yeah.
I would imagine, you're a new manager, you're going to Old Trafford. Is it actually at Old Trafford?
Yeah, we're at home. Yeah, first game of the season.
Just had to double check. Yeah. So going away to Old Trafford, you wouldn't want to necessarily play on the front foot. I think you would probably want to set up a bit defensively and try look to play the typical counter-attacking style that Wolves play. So I wouldn't expect too much variation from Wolves. It's just going to be very interesting to see how they go on for the rest of the season, because they've made some strange decisions as a club. Ever since Nuno left, they've really made some really odd decisions in terms of managerial appointments, in terms of who they let go. I mean, they've lost Ruben Neves as well, who was a massive player for them. So you just have to wonder what direction this club's going in.
I've got to be honest, just to quickly add to that, really, it's a strange one. Looking at the sort of the League of 20, I feel like Wolves, with an early loss of a manager, with not really any style of play necessarily, I feel like they could be one of the ones that might be in trouble. And listen, this isn't a discredit to Wolves. This is obviously a very early assumption, but I really feel like they could be in trouble and maybe sort of fighting around the relegation zone, or potentially get relegated, is my opinion. Maybe not.
I think this has been an interesting one, guys. I think from our point of view, we should be expecting victory. I think Erik ten Hag will be expecting victory, and I think the players will be expecting victory. I think Hella's made a great point about should play Sancho over Anthony. I agree with that. I think she's right. One thing we would have to consider then is, and we'll go through the Manchester United team a bit later, but I want you to think about this. Who would you play down the middle? Or would you play Sancho in this false nine that he's been playing? I want you to think about that. Hammer, where do you think Wolves can hurt us, pal? I know it's a difficult question, but where do you think they can hurt us?
I mean, it would kind of be some of what you guys were talking about already on the counter. You know, we have to be aware that the way Ten Hag's going to want us to play when we are on the front foot, you know, with the fullbacks and all that, there are going to be spaces open. And with Onana playing how he played, we already saw that bite us in the ass real quick once if we're sloppy. So that's where they're going to hurt us. They're going to play tight and look for any little sloppy mistakes, look for any little opportunities just to nick something, and then just pull old Jose and probably park the bus again if they can nick something on the counter. So yeah, that's where it is. It's gonna be a lot on our foot, and if you know, like with Dalot, that pass was just stupid. You know, he didn't check and just played a lazy pass, and it instantly bit us in the ass. So we just have to be smart and understand that there's gonna be spaces open where how we play, and we can't be sloppy.
No, I totally agree. So that actually brings me on to my next question, and it is our brand new goalkeeper. And on it now, I'm going to give you just my quick snippet, and it's a very, very short snippet. I think we've elevated ourselves into potentially one of the top three goalkeepers in the Premier League. That no doubt. Are you as worried as I am for that?
No,
we're not quite ready for Onana, and what I mean by that is our team isn't quite ready for Onana. Now, there will be a short counter because I think Martinez played a season with him, or maybe 6 months with Onana, so he'll know what he's like. So will Donny van der Beek, but you know Donny's being moved on by the looks of it. Are we capable? And I genuinely mean this. This is a genuine question, and please tell me in the comments: are we capable, outside of Martinez, outside of Varane, and outside of Shaw? So I'm really focusing on Dalot and potentially Wan-Bissaka, of not being able to understand when to pass in field and not when to pass in field. Because it doesn't really matter whoever wants to come in, but
yeah, go on. Sorry, buddy. Go on.
Just wanted to say, Hammer was absolutely right, and I know you guys would have made the same point. Is that pushing across to the middle without looking is going to be very, very dangerous. So that's my question: is are we capable of adapting quickly, or are we going to need time?
Yes, in short, yes. And the reason being, okay, it wasn't the team that it's not Onana that needs to adapt to our team. This is something that's being instilled into our team over the past season, okay? And I think there's a huge common denominator. No disrespect to the guy, but David De Gea, I'm sorry, was a little bit of a liability. And I feel that Onana, being press resistant, being able to sort of distribute the ball far better, get the ball down the lines a lot quicker between the lines. I really feel like he's already aware of how he wants to play. He's done this at Ajax. Pep Guardiola a few weeks ago said that he was absolutely incredible. It's very difficult to actually break the lines and get through and get people on the shoulder when you've got someone right there that's able to cut that complete middleman out. And again, as I said, I think the team has been getting used to this style of player over the year, and I do believe they'll be able to adapt to that. It's not the team that needs to adapt, it's the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper's ready for that. It does worry me, obviously, the physicality of the Premier League, but I honestly believe that he will be instilled nicely, and I think it will be good, and you'll see the massive benefits over the next few months.
Yeah, come in, guys. It doesn't matter whichever.
I was making my point real quick because I remember I tweeted something out about this after that goal happened too, because people were, obviously losing their minds on Twitter or X or whatever the hell we call it now. But nice. Onana, like we just got to. It just comes back to, like I said, being careful. And one thing that I made a point in the thing that I tweeted was this is probably going to happen again at some point. So everybody needs to, like everybody in the comments is talking about the heart attacks and all that, get whatever, Tums or whatever that helps with heartburn, just get a bottle for every game and just have it ready, because it's probably going to happen again. But the reason everybody should try to relax is because of how he can play with his feet, because of the distribution he has. And I think once the team and everybody else adapts with each other, and I think Ten Hag is going to help that be hopefully on a fast track, the amount of opportunities and chances his distribution is going to create is going to outweigh that of occasionally happening because we got sloppy or something like that. That's what.
Yeah. No. That's a fair comment. Well point, Marcus.
Yeah. I mean, just to jump in, I agree with the points you guys have made. I think the biggest thing for me as well is something not a lot of people are talking about, is also just how I think he's going to have a very positive impact on the dressing room. Just having a goalkeeper who's vocal, having a goalkeeper who has the type of personality that I think is very befitting of a Manchester United number one, it's going to make a huge difference in terms of instilling confidence in that back four and in that front line. Just having somebody who, it's not just about berating players and pointing fingers and looking like a leader, but it's that type of personality that you can't fake. Like Onana is clearly a guy that just radiates positivity when he needs to, but he also knows when to get locked in and be serious when he needs to. And to have that type of character around in the team, it's not quantifiable by stats. It's not quantifiable by the eye test. It's just something that you can only know if you've been in a competitive environment, and you just know, like, yeah, having that guy in the team, even when he's not playing at his best, it helps a lot, because I know that even if we're 1-0 down, 2-0 down, he'll be able to pick everybody's heads up, So I think that's the biggest thing for me. Of course, he's going to change the way we play. Of course, he's going to be a very decent shot stopper. And of course, he's going to bring a lot to our team tactically. But I think more than that, it's the mentality that I'm looking for. I know a lot of people get heart palpitations when watching Onana, but personally, I feel very calm when I watch him, because I just feel like, yeah, this guy's super. He just oozes confidence.
I think, just quickly, Stu, I think that's a really good point. And listen, we always sound like a broken record, I'm sure, but Stu, we've had many conversations in the past about having that communication. It's not even about being able to come and claim for a ball. It's about communication. And David De Gea, just because of his personality, whatever, just didn't have that. And you even saw, regardless whether you like Henderson or not, when he came into the side for that stint under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you saw a massive improvement from Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. Now, we can sit here and berate those two because they can't turn, they can't, not quick enough, whatever it might be, but they were far, far better. And I do believe that sometimes the defence is only as good as what your goalkeeper brings to you. And I really feel that's a really good point, and I think he will bring a lot of that to the team.
Yeah, no.
The point up from Mark's side real quick too, Stu, and I think you'll like it just because football and you being a defender, those three are like a triangle, and that relationship needs to be, communication, all that needs to be at a very high point. The keeper and the two center backs and that type of defense, like, it's an important thing to be able to have. And yeah, De Gea unfortunately just wasn't great at it.
No, I think you're right. I think from a centre half's point of view, it'd be quite funny being on the pitch and you're there and suddenly your goalkeeper's dribbling past you and he's away and you're thinking, oh, right, okay then, mate, come back, mate. We'll get him on a leash, get him on a baby leash, and we'll drag him back where we need.
That's all right. I'll just I just dropped back real quick. That's all.
Yeah. Look, for the record, I think we've made a very, very astute signing with him. I do think he's up there with Edison and Allison. So I think from that point of view, I think we're pleased. I think he is part of a huge jigsaw puzzle, which slowly but surely Ten Hag is building with the team, and I think he just added security. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Just on the jigsaw, sorry, Marcus, just really quickly, you're absolutely right. This is one piece that's coming into a team of 10 others. This isn't a team of 10 others coming to fix themselves for him, and that's my point earlier.
Yeah, I was just going to say also, like, I know, obviously Man City fans, they've just won the treble. They probably won't agree, but I think Onana is he's low-key better than Edison, because the thing about Edison is he's great with playing with the ball at his feet, but he makes a lot of mistakes. And you don't notice it because Manchester City, right? But if Edison was playing for Manchester United, the fail compilations on Twitter would be so overdone and overshared, but I think because he plays for Man City and they win trophies, it's kind of okay for him to make mistakes. With Onana, I genuinely believe he's a better shot stopper, and I'm not just saying that because he plays for United. Even before he came to United, just watching him for Inter and just in general when he was playing at Ajax, he's always been a keeper who I thought doesn't get praised enough for his shot stopping abilities. So I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting how people rank him. It's going to be interesting to see what rivals think of him, because I genuinely think Onana is at least top 2 in the league, if not the best.
I absolutely agree. Just very quickly, we've been talking about this a lot in the group chat, and even sort of rival fans, Chelsea fans, whoever, they do believe that. I think you really, Alisson, there's no doubt he's the best. Okay. Onana, I do believe, probably sits at second. And whilst he might give us heartburn and we can make all those jokes, right, embrace it. He's not going to necessarily make the mistakes. Let's hope he doesn't, but enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that... And actually, going to Wolves, sitting deep, trying to flood that defence, I think that we could see Onana utilised correctly in order to maybe have some split in defence passes, and maybe that could be a real positive for us.
No, I totally agree. Hammer, what do you think of Jarvis's comment? Friend of the show, Jarvis. Friend of the show, Jarvis. Friend of the show.
I definitely agree, to be honest. And it's not even just I think the only iffy spot right now is the right back position, because one of the two of them can't seem to lock it down. But everywhere else is fine. I'm happy with both our starting center backs. I'm happy with Shaw. I'm happy with Onana. And I'll even pull in and say I'm happy with Casemiro sitting in front of our defense. So, yeah, I can definitely agree with what he was saying there.
Excellent. So let's now switch it to the greatest team on earth, the greatest team that ever was and ever will be, and that is Man United, obviously. Let's try and think about how we're likely to line up. I don't want to do the starting 11 yet, but let's run through how we're going to play positionally, how we're going to go about the task that is Wolverhampton Wanderers, and how we're going to, or can we get the goals that can get us over the line if, as unfortunately it appears to be, Sir Kane is Germany bound. So I'll start with you, Marcus, on that. What's your thoughts, pal?
I think based on preseason, and I just quick disclaimer, I didn't watch most of Man United's preseason games due to issues in my personal life, but I was able to catch the one against Lens at Old Trafford. And what was interesting was how high up the pitch we were pressing, especially to try stop the distribution from goal kicks. So I think one thing we will see now that Mount is in the team, and he's kind of known for his pressing and the fact that he just works really hard and has a good work ethic. One thing you're going to see is Manchester United pressing high a lot more, and I think you'll see sustained presses. At least that's what Ten Hag is going to try to do. He might not do it every single time, but I would expect, especially at Old Trafford against a team like Wolves, a team that's probably low in confidence, doesn't really know where they're going, doesn't really have a sense of identity, especially for in that opening 10 minutes, we're going to press them really high and make them really uncomfortable. The second thing that I would really like to see, and I mean, it's kind of obvious because everyone is pontificated about it at this point, is the playing out from the back with Onana. Just seeing us take more risks, try to be more comfortable in possession, and just have faith in our ability, even if it does lead to a couple of mistakes and we concede a few silly goals across the season. It's okay. Just keep doing it. Don't let your confidence be shot, and don't start going back into old habits of just playing silly sideways passes that you didn't need to play when there was a better one open, or perhaps kicking the ball out. Like, how many times have we seen De Gea misplace a pass when he's under pressure because he's trying to play himself out of trouble quickly, but then you look up and there's not even anyone there. Like, the amount of times Luke Shaw would put his hands up and be like, bro, I'm over here. Like, who are you passing to? So yeah, those are the two things for me. It's better seeing us play a little bit more crisp in terms of our possession and pressing really high up the pitch.
Good. So just before we go around, what's your formation going to be?
Just the standard 4-3-3, and it's something I'm worried about, to be honest with you. Initially when we signed Mason Mount, I was like, people need to relax, trust the manager, blah blah blah. But looking at the way we've played in preseason, it's something I'm worried about with Mount, Bruno, and Casemiro. That midfield, something about it is just not right. And I think out of possession, it will be perfectly fine because those players can press really well, especially Casemiro, really good at reading the game. On the ball is where I'm worried. I feel like Bruno and Mount being so potent in the final third means that there's going to be this huge gap between them two and Casemiro. And that's, I don't know how to feel about that, to be honest with you. But I can't think of anything better, so it's got to be a 4-3-3.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, listen, I understand your concerns, Marcus, and I've had this conversation at length with quite a few people. Now, listen, you can call me optimistic. I probably am. I'm probably a little bit biased towards United. However, I think we saw a lot last season that Bruno would drop back a lot deeper, pick it up in the spaces in between the lines and between Casemiro and whoever else was playing in a 10 or close to a 10. And I feel that obviously we haven't seen the best from Mount yet. I think it's very easy to say that maybe it's a little bit disjointed, but I think that it needs, this is a new relationship. And essentially it needs a few run of games. The pre-season is not a good judge of it at all. And until the Premier League comes with the physicality, everything else, and getting that sort of run of games, I think you will see an improvement. I think Mount will be the one that plays further forward. As I said, he's not really come in and hit the ground running yet, but I think you'll see that. Again, the signing so far with Ten Hag has been immaculate. And I think he's got a very good eye for player profile. And I do believe that Mount is a good signing. I think for 55 million is also good, considering they wanted 80. Again, another really big positive is that we weren't held over a barrel, which we have so many times in the past. But I do think we probably need one more. And I know that obviously we've been tipped to get Amrabat, and I think you will see a lot more solidity with him, particularly in big games where we might have to be a bit more defensive and not be caught on the counter. And I think if we can get someone like him in, that would just give that midfield a little bit more balance. But I'm not too concerned with Casemiro, Bruno and Mount in that order, going from defensive to attack.
All right, Hammer?
Yeah, I mean, I understand people's worry and everything like that. I think this just comes down to time. I think when they get more of a flow together and getting used to playing with each other, we'll probably see a more solidified thing. And like Mark said, there seems to be hopefully at least one more coming in. And if somebody like Amrabat does come in, I think it'll help overall. So yeah, I'm not stressing. And I also think I know we talked about it a bunch already, but I think our Onana and the defense is also going to help in some of this in terms of when we get attacked. Hopefully they are in enough of damn, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking right now. Damn, that's just a terrible thing to be blanking on this word. But anyways, I think people get what I'm saying. Like, they have enough togetherness back there to where they can handle if something goes a little bit awry. So yeah, I'm not too worried. I think it'll be all right, but it'll just take some time probably to get everything flowing how everybody would like to see it flowing.
Yeah, look, I agree with you all, actually, which is unusual for me, but on this occasion I do. Look, I think we'll actually play a more possession-based game this season. I think possession will be quite key to the way that Ten Hag wants to play. And I actually share Marcus's worries in relation to the gap between Casemiro and Mount. Not so much the gap between Bruno and Casemiro, but the gap between Casemiro and Mount. And if you look at the Real Madrid goals, both of those came really where Mount should have kind of positioned himself in and around the middle to support the Casemiro. Mark's absolutely right. I think Amrabat, if he comes in, will offer that kind of solidity, and he'll play slightly side by side with Casemiro. With that in mind, then the question for me is: do you bring in Eriksen and bench Mount to start? Because whatever you do within when you start a campaign is you must win your first game of football. You must win that match, because that kind of sets you up. Now, when we kick off on Monday, we're still in the title race. And Ten Hag will be looking at you and think, I've got to finish top of the pile this time. So sometimes he's got this ruthless streak in. People won't agree with me. People will want Mountain straight away. But sometimes you've got to do what's best for the team. And if Casemiro can't operate with Mount at this point in time, we need to make sure that he operates with somebody he can operate with, and that would be Eriksen. So I think this season we'll play a more possession-based game. I certainly think by the way, my choice is Pavard to replace Harry Maguire because I think he offers that. I think he's quite a durable player. I think he offers. I know he's a centre back by trade, but we've got a right back or a centre back. I think it's like having Yuri and Timber in your squad. You've got that adaptability, and I think we're looking for that. If Pavard was to come in, let me just add this caveat. I think Mount might be okay. But at the minute, because we're quite weak at right back, certainly with Dalot, and I know it sounds strange, but believe it or not, when you're playing in the middle, you either cut through the middle or you're there to get it out wide. So either way, you can't have that gap in the middle. You've got to be able to. But so we trust Dalot as a right back. Wan-Bissaka we do to an extent, but do we trust Dalot? So that's my only concern. So I do share everybody's viewpoint.
Interestingly enough, just very quickly, Sean, I'm really sorry. United Scout is in attendance to follow Jean-Claire Todibo tonight during the Nice game against Lille, just to make you aware of that. So obviously Pavard, absolutely agreeing with what you've said, but United in attendance for that.
So, I mean, there's an age disparity, isn't there? What's Pavard, 27, something like that? What's Toledo? He's something like 24, isn't he? But I don't believe he plays right back. He's a straight centre-half, isn't he? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. A
very good centre-half, by the way. Don't get me wrong. He's strong and he's a very good centre-half. And I understand the planning ahead for the Varane issues that may or may not occur during the season. Although I would say I think Varane's looking a much stronger physical athlete this year. I think he's worked hard.
No, I don't know. He got clipped on the ankle, and I was nervous. He stayed down for a little bit longer than I would like in one of those games. I was like, so I think I tweeted. I was like, somebody give their ankles to Varane, please, because that shit.
So you know what it is with Varane. Like, sorry, Stu, to cut you off.
No, that's all right. No problem.
The thing about Rafael Varane, right? I really do like him, but I think people sometimes forget, that you can have a situation where you have multiple centre backs and they don't all start every week, especially if one of them knows they have fitness issues. So I'm not opposed to signing a player of the quality of Benjamin Pavard, because I just think at centre back, you kind of want the older players, the more experienced players. You don't really want... I get where people are going with Todibo being younger, having a higher ceiling and all of this stuff. But in the centre-back pairing, personally, that's the one place where I don't care about age. I would rather have experience, and then you can have a young team around that. So for me, I would just go for Pavard for the experience. And then also, that if Varane does get injured, you're not throwing a young kid now into the fray when that wasn't the plan all along. Whereas if you get someone like Pavard, he knows, like, okay, I've just got to be on standby here in case anything happens. And if not, I can fight for my place anyways.
We're getting for 30 mil. What Toledo was Toledo? Something like 52, something like that.
Yeah, a little bit more expensive. I think Pavard I think Amrabat 25 million, 30 million euros. I think Pavard probably about 32 million euros. I think that is. So
32, for Pavard,
something like that. Yeah.
I think he's a better buy. Right, guys, we're 40 minutes into the show, which is great. Thanks for people who stuck with us. I really appreciate it. Thanks for everyone in the comments as well. Just before we go into our 11, Hammer has seen the Reds firsthand over in America. And so over to you, Hammer, just to give us your thoughts on what you experienced. Am I right to say it's the first time you've seen the lads live?
Yeah. It was my first time. I think the only last time they came to the States was a long time ago, probably, and I was really young. So it's their first time coming back to the States in a while with preseason and everything. It was fun, man. The stadium was packed. There was some tailgating and stuff going on, but I got there when I was just trying to get into the stadium and everything. Definitely got a little bit tipsy because I had just come back.
Do they tailgate? Do they at football matches?
Yeah, I mean they tailgate at if there's an opportunity at a you know. And some will be bigger than others, but the NFL season starts soon, so there's going to be a bunch of tailgating up there. But no, man, it was fun. The place was going pretty crazy, and I was happy. I wasn't able to figure out which side where was a Man United side and Arsenal side, but I picked the Man United side, luckily. So the fans are awesome, man. They were actually fans from some different countries, and there was from all different places in the States that came to see them up in MetLife. And I will just want to say there was a video that went viral about Arsenal fans fighting at MetLife. That was not on my side. All right, the fans on my side were all good fans. Nobody was fighting. But no, it was fun, man. And I also just want to say I think this with some of the preseason stuff that was going on, because I think a lot of not just the Man United ones, other preseason games too, there were big crowds and big sellouts and everything, along with all the crazy stuff that's been going on with Messi. I think this is just the beginning of getting U.S. fans and the rest of the world ready for the World Cup coming here in a couple of years. So I think that this is part of what's going on as well. And people are getting hyped, so I'm really happy for it.
Great stuff. Well, thanks for that, Hannah. Right then, it's come to that part of the show, everybody. Let's pick our starting 11. I think the goalkeeper's going to be quite a debate. I think that'll be a difficult one to get over the line. So, but anyway, I presume we're all going with Onana as the number
I don't know.
one.
Heaton's looked pretty good in preseason. I'm not going to lie.
He's also injured, but he could start.
Isn't it interesting, by the way, how Heaton has started more games in preseason than Henderson? Assuming Henderson's staying at the club, that's very interesting.
Well, I think Henderson was odds on to join Forest, wasn't he?
I don't know what happened there. I think actually I read the other day
something about his injury.
Oh, is he injured?
Did he end the season injured with them? I think he
sure.
got injured on his loan. No,
I think he did, and they brought in Navas. But from what I understand, what I've heard is that Nottingham Forest, even though they spent on lots of players last summer, it was almost like a new squad. I think they're actually in a bit of shit now.
They're broke, aren't they?
And they're really struggling to actually find the funds for anything. Hence why 20 million, which is all we were asking, I think, for Henderson, they weren't able to do that, and that's why they've gone from Turner from Arsenal a lot cheaper. That's from what I understand. So.
No, I agreed. Okie dokie then. So we're going to go in Onana. Yes, this is So we're going to sign Onana. I did read, by the way, and I heard an interview with Cooper that said the signing of that Arsenal goalkeeper had no bearing on what they're going to do with Henderson. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. Evening, Trevor. Okay, so Onana in goal then. What are we doing for right back then, fellas? Because I think this is going to be an interesting one. I'll tell you mine after we go around.
Back four. Thinking about it, you got to wonder who he's going to go with at the right back position. Obviously, we know Martinez and Varane are going to start as the centre-back pairing. Left back, I would imagine it's Luke Shaw.
Malassi is injured, I think.
Malassi is injured, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I honestly don't know, because I struggled to differentiate between Delo and Wan-Bissaka. From what I'm gauging, especially on Twitter, it seems like people are starting to lean more towards Wan-Bissaka. But I'm not convinced. I wasn't too impressed. So I would go for Delo personally.
Interesting. Mark?
Listen, I do like Delo. I think he's given a lot of bad rep. I think when you push yourself as far forward as he does, you do leave yourself a little bit exposed. But I think that anybody that probably thinks that Aaron Wan-Bissaka won't start tomorrow on Monday is wrong. And listen, I think he had a tremendous second half of the season. I think he's come on leaps and bounds. Another player that obviously Erik ten Hag and the coaching staff need to be given credit for. And in pre-season, he was also one of our better players. So I think it's an absolute foregone that Aaron Wan-Bissaka starts tomorrow.
Okay. Hammer?
Yeah, I am going to have to agree with Mark on this one in regards to Wan-Bissaka. I am just a big fan of Wan-Bissaka in general because I get hyped about with slide tackles and shit. But I also think he might be still a little bit shaky going forward, even though he has gotten significantly better. But the gap that Dalot does leave is an issue. And even if, as some people, for some reason, like to say it's a negative, which I understand where they try to make it a negative. But if there is a gap left, I want Wan-Bissaka chasing that person down rather than Dalot.
Okay. I mean, Marcus knows where I'm going to drop anyway because he knows I'm a Wan-Bissaka fan. I actually think Marcus has got a persuasive argument as well. I think it's the one area of the back four that Erik ten Hag still isn't sure about, and that's why I go back to
Pavard.
bringing in somebody like Pavard, who I think slots in beautifully. Thank you very much. Yeah. Took away the key, away you go. So that's where I think it's Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He makes the team. Sorry, Marcus.
It's nice that we have options, right? It's nice that even though a lot of people don't necessarily rate Dalot, at least we have that different profile where if we know that we're going to be fine defensively, we can go with Dalot, or we can bring him on in the second half if Wan-Bissaka is just not working. So I would say that's the one positive,
I totally agree. I'm obviously going to follow Marcus. I'm going with Varane and Martinez. I think that's just a shoe-in. Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. And Shaw at left back as well. Yeah, I think
that's... we all agreed on that because I think that's a shoe-in. Hammer, you in agreement?
Yeah, definitely. And Trevor should stop making Maguire jokes. I don't need that trauma.
Well, the interesting thing is, you can still pick Harry Maguire because he hasn't gone as of yet. So Trevor's absolutely right. And I still pick Maguire. The answer is yes, because he's not gone. Absolutely brilliant. And now Jarvis agrees with you, Marcus, by the way. Jarvis is going with Dalot. He thinks that's what he'll do. Right, midfield three. Conjecture, I believe. We'll start with Hammer. Your midfield three. I presume we're playing 4-3-3.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm gonna go with the Casemiro, Mount, and Bruno. I think even if it is some people, and even if honestly, I think even if Ten Hag thinks it might still be a little shaky in terms of working well together, he's bought Mount for a reason, and I think Eriksen can't really handle the defensive side or the defensive help. Let's go. Yeah, so can't really help on the defensive side. So I think Mount is bought in for a reason, and even if there's going to be a little bit of shaky waters to start off, Ten Hag's still going to go with that three.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, until we get another option in Amrabat, I think with Amrabat, he will probably play the games where we might be a little bit more susceptible on the counter, and certainly sort of maybe less possession based. But I think with possession base, I think it's absolutely nailed on as well. Casemiro, Bruno, and Mount in the middle for me.
Marcus, I presume.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. And the main reason is because I think we've seen evidence that Ten Hag doesn't really wait very long before he introduces his new signings. And in this case, we're talking about someone who's not just any signing. Whether people like it or not, Mount is a marquee signing. I'm sorry. You can't give someone the number 7 shirt and not call them a marquee signing. Even if people don't rate Mount, he just is. So I think
number 7.
I wouldn't have either, but at the end of the day, listen, I'm reserved. I'm on the fence. I'm just like, you know what? Ten Hag has given me enough reason to trust him as manager, and whether or not he made that decision, it's going to be relevant if Mount performs anyways. So fingers crossed that he lives up to it. Because nobody will be talking about the number 7 shirt if he's scoring goals and he helps us win trophies, right? So
this is true.
So I think Mount will start, and I think, listen, hopefully he has a good game, because if he doesn't, we know how Twitter's like. But I just think it's really important that Ten Hag backs Mount and actually gives him the time, in the team, because if you've got to be very careful with a player like Mount. He's coming to a club where he's going to be under lots of scrutiny, and just having that backing from the manager is going to be really, really important.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Look, I have to agree with you three. My caveat would be I would actually play Eriksen if I was Erik Ten Hag, and I would bring Mount on with 30 minutes to go for his pressing ability when they're tired. That's how I would do it.
Yeah.
I also think you're absolutely right, guys. I think he's got the 7 shirt. He's a shoe-in to start with. His connection with Casemiro will grow. It will become stronger. But just for this game, Eriksen would be a better option for me to start with. But anyway, I'm with you on the 3. It will be Casemiro, it will be Mount, and it will be Bruno. I totally agree with that. So, Marcus, back to you then for the front 3. Now, I think this is the most difficult to choose from, because we have Garnacho, we have Sancho, we have Rashford, we don't have Martial, but we do have Anthony. 4 into 3 doesn't go. So which way are we going, and how do we think? Who's going to play through the middle? Who's going to play left, and who's going to play right?
I think Erik Ten Hag is most likely to play Rashford through the middle with Garnacho on the left and Anthony on the right. And the reason why I would go with that 3, it's not necessarily based on form, but just judging how Erik Ten Hag is as a manager, he knows that he can't play Garnacho anywhere other than the left, because if you play Garnacho on the right, he's obviously going to be way too far out of position. So if Garnacho starts, he's got to be on the left. So just by process of elimination, that's where Garnacho will start, and I think he's deserved it. Then you've got Rashford, who obviously his weakest area is on the right, and we don't have a number 9, so it makes sense that he's going to be the one playing through the middle. And Anthony is Erik Ten Hag's guy, whether people agree with it or not. Personally, I would start Sancho if I was in charge, because I think Sancho has been more tidy in preseason, but I think he will go with Anthony just because he clearly believes in Anthony and he has a plan for him.
Argued, Mark.
I couldn't have said it better myself, to be honest with you. And I was going to mention about Sancho. I thought Helly made a great point about potentially playing him maybe as a false 9. I think maybe in order to help break the lines in the defence, perhaps you need someone like that. I think he's looked very strong over pre-season, but you're absolutely right, Marcus. I think he will go with tried and tested. And I think Garnacho really needs to be getting starts now, far more than he has last season. I think Rashford, obviously number 9, will fill that role until Højlund comes in. And I think Anthony, as you say, spot on the right-hand side.
Oh, here comes a controversy.
And I'm going to disagree with everybody. No, I think it's going to be Rashford on the left, Sancho in that false 9, Anthony on the right, Garnacho as an impact sub later in the game when everybody's tired. I don't think Garnacho's ready to be starting yet. I think he's great and he's going to be a big talent for us. But we've seen in some games that where he started, he hasn't really been able to have the same impact. And I think some of it is he has some of that impact coming on against tired legs. Yep. And I think Rashford in the 9, he himself has said, and we have seen at times that he's not the best in that number 9, and it doesn't get the best out of him, and he prefers playing out on the left. So I think he is either that Ten Hag is actually going to go with Sancho in the false 9, Anthony out right, and Rashford out left until Højlund is fully healed from whatever little small injury he has, and then it'll be a bigger conversation of who's starting with.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So I get the casting vote. So my casting vote, unfortunately, agrees with Hammer. I actually think what he's going to do is play a floating front 3. And it doesn't get used often, but he'll play a floating front 3. So we may well line up with Rashford left, Sancho middle, Anthony right. But that has the ability to play a floating front 3. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see an interchangeable front 3, which will cause Wolves all sorts of problems for 90 minutes. I tend to agree with Garnacho coming on, with about 20, 25 minutes to go. So that isn't playing, and Trevor just said about putting Sancho as a false 9's ludicrous. I'm not quite sure exactly what his words were, but that isn't playing Sancho as a false 9. What that's doing is playing Sancho as part of the front 3. Now, when we got Højlund in there, it's a different story, a completely different story. And you've got a focal point, and he will do that. When you've got the ability as footballers, individual footballers, Rashford, Sancho, and Anthony, that front three has the ability to interchange, has the ability to change direction with speed. Will it give us the goals? We don't know. We'll find out Monday night. But that's where I'm going. I see what you're saying about Garnacho, lads. I really do. I get you. I think he has deserved that chance. I think his problem is Sancho's re-emergence.
Yeah.
Not Anthony, because as Marcus and you've all said, he won't drop Anthony.
Yeah.
So it's Sancho's re-emergence that's kind of stuck a tiny nail in Garnacho's coffin right now. But that will change throughout the season. So if it was me, that's what I would do, and I think it would be dangerous. The other thing about that is quickly, is that you can also change Bruno and Sancho. So you could drop Sancho slightly deeper into that 10-ish role and push Bruno up if you need to. But that front three, front four, then, if you include Bruno in there, is as mobile as it gets and will be an absolute nightmare for Wolves.
And I just want to say real quick on Garnacho, I think he is getting better. His decision making in the preseason was really great.
He is.
But I think when he starts, he gets a little bit too excited. He gets a little bit too hungry, and he just keeps trying to run in behind people. And I just
like
prefer him for which is good, but he don't got the pace of a young Rashford. It gets fast, but he ain't that fast.
I mean, can I also just jump in and say that it's interesting with Sancho, because I mean, sometimes I forget that he's a Ten Hag signing. He's not a Ten Hag signing, right? And you almost feel like this is a massive, massive season for him, because since Maguire is coming to the team, and there's Fred, there's McTominay, there's so many other scapegoats in the team, that Sancho's kind of gone under the radar, right? His Man United career has not been a success. I think we can all agree with that. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does this season, because I'm still not sure where his best position is. I think, contrary to Trevor's comment, I actually think playing Sancho through the middle, whether it's as a false nine or any other position, it does make a lot of sense, in my opinion. Only because when I've seen Sancho be effective, it's when he drifts into the central areas. And maybe that's because we haven't had a number 9 for so long that anyone who can do hold up and play play the way we need in the middle just looks good. So maybe we're just kind of overrating Sancho because we haven't seen somebody good at that since Martial. But I don't know. I just feel like Sancho, when he drifts into those central areas and he's looking for those intricate 1-2s and he's not being too direct and he's allowed to just be himself, that's when he's actually at his best, at least for us right now. And I feel like if he is going to play out wide, and I did put a tweet out about this, if he wants to play out wide for Manchester United, he's going to have to be more direct. He's going to have to try alter his game and be like Anthony, be like Rashford, which I don't know if he can do, because he just doesn't want to do it. It almost feels like he doesn't believe in himself when it comes to taking people on.
You make a couple of good points there, actually, and this is why I love having you on, Marcus, because you do my job for me, really. You took the words out of my mouth. I think it is make or break for him, and I think that the last time he really took a season by storm, he had Haaland. Now, I'm not making a comparison between Højlund and Haaland, okay? However, once he's eased into the team, we do have that focal point. Weghorst wasn't able to supply that. Sancho wasn't the player that he was really negative at that point, wasn't playing very, very well at all. I think that hopefully if Sancho takes this season and grabs it with both hands and have someone like Højlund in there, I really feel that you could see the best out of him this season. And again, I'm being optimistic, but I really feel like that this could be the one for him.
No, totally agree. Well, look, guys, the Premier League is upon us. It's a minute away before Burnley and Manchester City kick off. Come on, Burnley. I'm sure you'll all join me in that wish that Burnley get a result. I don't think City will have it easy tonight. So I just want to thank the panel. Thank everybody who's watched us tonight. Thank everybody in the comments. We hope we've answered your questions. Been a great debate, and it's great to be back. Again, just a gentle reminder, please just check on people, make sure they're okay. Drop them a text, drop them a hug, drop them a smile. Just make sure people are okay.
Can I just say two things? Sorry, when you finish. Sorry, bro.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm done.
Cool. Sorry about that. I just want to say a couple of things first. Obviously, thanks to everyone, as he's already said. Really important, really exciting season. I've been so excited today, treading on everyone's toes, being like a bull in a china shop. But we've got obviously more shows coming up. Needed to just say that we've got a new show that Jamie Andrews is doing. It's really, really exciting. Something different that you won't see anywhere else. And that's on Sunday. We've got some very, very good guests on, a lot of familiar faces and a lot of old faces that you will be excited to see, I can assure you. But this weekend, something a little bit more fun. I want everyone to get involved. It's at 8 p.m. on Sunday. It's the Nearly United Best 11. So that's all the signings that we potentially almost got over the line. And it's going to cause a lot of great conversation in my opinion.
There is a rule though, isn't there, Mark?
I don't know what that rule is.
You can't put Wesley Sneijder in there.
Well, I think Wesley Sneijder and Nicholas Gaitan will be my top two. And then, of course, on Monday, we've got a match review again, familiar faces again. But obviously, please join us at 10 o'clock. It will be 10, 10:15. And you might see some of us again. But Stu, wonderful tonight, mate. And thank you very much. Your first pretty much hosting gig. Brilliant stuff. No,
absolute pleasure. Thank you all for coming. Everybody, just quickly tell everyone where your socials are, Marcus.
This is my handle on Twitter. So Twitter's where I'm most active, and my YouTube channel is the exact same name. So you can follow me on there. I upload quite regularly.
Please do follow Marcus. What about TikTok? Are you still doing TikTok?
Not really. You can follow my TikTok. I might come back one day, but I just
TikTok. I might have to have a conversation with you, Marcus. Didn't realise, but yes.
Hammer, yourself?
Yeah, same thing with Hammer United, just mostly on Twitter, or like I said before, X. I don't know if Elon will be upset if we don't start using the right name. But yeah, mostly Twitter. I have some other ones, but I don't really use them anyway. So
lovely. And Mark?
I'm not worried about you guys following me. The most important thing is you follow all these three on the show.
Exactly. I totally agree, but you can abuse me at Stu Woolley if you see fit. One thing we didn't do before I go is score prediction. So we better quickly do that. I do apologise, everybody. I'm going for a 2-0 win to Manchester United.
Yeah, I'll go in 3-0. I'm going to stick with my man, John Commode. I agree with him, 3-0.
Johnny.
Sorry, my bad. I will also go with 3-0. I think it's going to be a good game. And shit, I know we didn't do. I know we're not doing predictions, but maybe we'll even get lucky and Mount will open his account early because he owes us one after that preseason miss. That was terrible.
I love the optimism from you guys, but it's Wolves. I've been scarred too many times. You know how many times I've almost fell asleep watching Manchester United versus Wolves, and I woke up in the middle of the second half like, oh my God, it's still 0-0. So for me, it's going to be a 1-0. And Rashford's going to score because he always does against Wolves.
Okay.
Still 3 points. Lovely.
Still 3 points. Yeah. Well, that's the end of the show. Let's all go and cheer on Burnley. This is good night from me, good night from Mark, good night from Hammer, and good night from Marcus. Thank you very much for watching.